Little Red Riding Hood. Once in a small village, there lived a sweet little girl. Everyone loved her because she was kind and cheerful. Her grandmother made her a beautiful red cloak with a hood. The little girl loved it so much that she wore it every day. Because of this, everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. One sunny morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother called her. "Come here, my dear. I need your help," she said. Little Red Riding Hood ran to her mother. "Grandma is not feeling well," her mother said. "Please take this basket of food to her. There is bread, cheese, and some cookies. But remember, stay on the path and do not talk to strangers." Little Red Riding Hood nodded. "I will be careful, mother," she said. She picked up the basket and started her journey to Grandma's house. Grandma lived in a small cottage deep in the forest. The path was long, but Little Red Riding Hood was not afraid. She loved the forest. The birds sang, and the trees danced in the wind. As she walked, she saw beautiful flowers by the side of the path. "Grandma will love these flowers," she thought. She put the basket down and began to pick flowers. While she was busy, a big bad wolf saw her. The wolf was very hungry. He licked his lips and thought, "This little girl looks tasty." The wolf walked up to her. "Good morning, little girl," he said. Little Red Riding Hood looked up and saw the wolf. She forgot her mother's warning and said, "Good morning, Mr. Wolf." "What are you doing here in the forest?" asked the wolf. "I am picking flowers for my grandma," she said. "Where does your grandma live?" asked the wolf. "She lives in a small cottage at the end of this path," said Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf's eyes shone with excitement. He wanted to eat both Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother. But he needed a plan. "Those are lovely flowers," said the wolf. "I'm sure your grandma will love them. Why don't you pick some more?" "That is a good idea," said Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf smiled and ran away quickly. He went straight to Grandma's house. When he reached the cottage, he knocked on the door. "Who is it?" asked Grandma. "It is me, Little Red Riding Hood," said the wolf, pretending to be the little girl. "Come in, my dear," said Grandma. The wolf opened the door and jumped inside. Grandma screamed, but the wolf was too fast. He locked Grandma in a closet and put on her clothes. He wore her nightgown, her cap, and her glasses. Then he got in her bed and waited for Little Red Riding Hood. After some time, Little Red Riding Hood arrived. She knocked on the door. "Who is it?" asked the wolf, trying to sound like Grandma. "It is me, Little Red Riding Hood," she said. "Come in, my dear," said the wolf. Little Red Riding Hood opened the door and walked in. She saw the wolf in Grandma's bed, but she did not know it was the wolf. "Grandma, you look different," she said. "Oh, my dear, I have a cold," said the wolf. "Grandma, your eyes are so big," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to see you with, my dear," said the wolf. "Grandma, your ears are so big," she said. "All the better to hear you with, my dear," said the wolf. "Grandma, your teeth are so big," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to eat you with," shouted the wolf. He jumped out of the bed and ran after Little Red Riding Hood. She screamed and tried to run, but the wolf was fast. At that moment, a woodcutter was passing by the cottage. He heard Little Red Riding Hood scream. He ran to the cottage and saw the wolf. The woodcutter picked up his axe and chased the wolf. The wolf was scared and ran away into the forest. The woodcutter opened the closet and found Grandma. Little Red Riding Hood hugged her tightly. "Thank you for saving us," she said to the woodcutter. Grandma said, "You were very brave, my dear. But next time, remember to listen to your mother and stay on the path." Little Red Riding Hood nodded. "I will never talk to strangers again," she said. The woodcutter stayed with them until they felt safe. Then he went back to the forest. Little Red Riding Hood and Grandma sat together and ate the food from the basket. They were happy and thankful. From that day on, Little Red Riding Hood always followed her mother's advice.